Okay. And we're live. I want to make sure I wasn't muted. I've been doing that for the past couple of live streams. Been muted. And I'm like, welcome everybody. Welcome. Carolyn's deleted comments. Goodness, it's been a marathon today. Yes, it has. Today, it's been a long day. Yes. And it's for me anyway, it's been a draining day, but a good day. A day of awareness. Today is International Overdose Awareness Day. And I want to thank everyone who came to my live event that I covered in a town in Massachusetts called Marlborough, Massachusetts, which is one of many towns where cities across the world who had these events in remembrance and recognition of all those we've lost to substance use disorder, to the disease of addiction. And the event I went to was, and I have it posted if anyone wants to watch it later. We had a special guest. Hold on one second. Let me just fix something. Okay. We had a special guest, Chris Sullivan, who was a former New England Patriots football player. His story was amazing, and he, all off the cuff. He didn't read off of anything. He was open and honest, and it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to hear from him. Hi, Ladybug Toes. Rosie, hello, honey. Lisa, Lisa H. There's a lot of Lisas on YouTube. Davita, Tracy, Dandy B, Sparks Joy. I like that name. Steph sells stuff by the seashore. Hi, Lee. How you doing? Okay, Dandy. And unfortunately, with this event, the purple flags represent, one purple flag represents a loved one that has lost their battle to the disease of addiction. And when these events first started about 4 years ago, I think there were about 800,000 flags. And unfortunately, every year it's increasing. And I think the statistics are every day in the United States, about 269 people overdose and die. That's a lot. That's a lot. So our flags in this state have gone up to over 2,500 deaths in 1 year. So just imagine, add that up to all the states. You know, it's a lot. The event that I went to, there were a lot of mothers, fathers, loved ones who's, lost their child to addiction. And we have a lot of people in our community who have lost their child to the disease of addiction. So I figured I'd open up the panel. Let me just go to the YouTube side and pin my link. I'm going to mute for 1 second so I don't echo. Okay, so the link is pinned. And, I was really glad that a lot of the discussion at this event this evening was about this stigma of substance use disorder and mental health. Um, you know, we have to be mindful and educated about the words we choose to refer to someone who is struggling, whether it's with substance abuse or mental health. And many times, 99.9 times, maybe even 100%, mental health coincides with substance use disorder. Okay. Um, so we have to be careful of stigmas, um, the words we use, referring to people as junkies, addicts, losers, crazy. I mean, I can go on and on. And we still have a lot of work to do. And each one of us can make a difference by becoming educated, going to meetings. And, there's so many virtual meetings online now that you can truly remain anonymous. Plug into an AA meeting or an Al Anon meeting, um, and listen. Just listen in. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. And I guarantee you, you'll walk away with even just one thing you'll walk away with. You might not enjoy a particular meeting for whatever reason, but you'll always walk away with something that you'll never forget. And that's positive. And the 12-step program, I've always said, um, you don't even have to have mental health issues or struggle with substance use disorder to follow the 12 steps, because the 12 steps to me is a way of life. It's like my Bible. Um, and I've learned so much self-care from those 12 steps. So yes, Lee, marvelous people here. Rosie, in 2021, over 100,000 people died from overdose fentanyl. Yeah. And the thing is with fentanyl now, um, the rates of overdoses, death has increased too much. Denise, the 12 steps are wonderful. They are. They truly are. Um, Also, they touched upon um, people who are ashamed to talk about their addiction or their mental health problems or loved ones, parents, siblings who are ashamed of their loved one's struggle and they go quiet. And that you can't you and they said, we need people. And I've always said that. We were not meant to go through this world alone. And we need to honor all those alive and lost who passed away from substance use disorder or mental health, from self-harm. We need to honor those people and not forget them, not hide their memories in a closet, and not be ashamed. That was their journey, and you may not agree with it, but they needed help. Um, it's a courageous battle. It's not easy, and they should be acknowledged for the courage for trying to fight that battle. Hi, Floor, Jenny. If I missed anyone, Black Eagle, what's up? Denise says, I have family members that have turned their back on me due to my son. Denise, unfortunately, that's not uncommon. And this is why we have August 31st as Overdose Awareness Day. It's just not to bring awareness to those who have passed away, but it's also to bring awareness to the living, to the public, and educate them provide resources for them, provide training for them, like Narcan training. Um, and I believe each year we do a little bit better, but it's still not enough. And when I hear stories like, or you tell me, your family turned their back, it makes me want to fight even more. It makes me want to get out there even more and do more for our communities. Um, Even if it's like tonight, I didn't personally sign up to help out because of the situation recently with my family, and I couldn't commit to anything. But even when I was there, I helped pass out the candles. Um, I thanked everyone as I was giving them the candles for being there. And even something that little, it makes you feel so good because you become a part of of a community, and it takes a village, right? And there's no judgment there. Um, and that's what I want to see grow. I want that mindset, that mentality to grow, even if you don't have a loved one struggling. Okay, if even if you have even if you didn't have any friends, if you knew no one who was struggling, I would still hope that you would take the time to become educated and learn. Just as any new diseases, when COVID came about, that virus, we didn't know anything about it, right? And we were fearful. I was fearful. I was in the midst, in the bowels of COVID, working with COVID patients. But it wasn't until we became educated and started learning. Um, and it's the same with any virus or disease, that fear, oh my God, you know. But once we become educated and try to remove that ignorance, um, then there's understanding. And that's when people can make the biggest difference. So, yes, Jenny, you're right. It's humanizing the circumstances. Exactly. Yeah, Black Eagle. It's not a club I wish on anyone. Yeah. And Lisa, I mean, Denise, I'm so sorry. I don't know what the circumstances are now with your family, but um, don't let that define you ever, ever. It's ignorance. It's ignorance. Do not let anyone define you, whether they call you a junkie. Many people are misinformed. They spread wrong information, and that wrong information spreads quickly. Um, so we need to undo that. Anyone who turns their back is uneducated. Yeah, and I do in my real life. I've been to wakes where a mother's adult child is in a casket, and we all know that that child's overdosed, and yet the mother, and I'll never forget it, and this child overdosed in their home, in his bedroom, and the mother was just in so much denial. Not that she was trying to say it didn't happen, but it's hard to explain. She was just kind of standoffish, but um, you could tell that she was putting up walls, that you could tell that she felt ashamed. You could just sense it. Um, and and other people too. I've been to wakes, a couple of other wakes, the same thing. Tracy, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. And the speakers tonight at this event I went to, the one common thing that all these wonderful people have in common, that have lost a child, and the speakers, most of the speakers there tonight did. um, they they said you have to move forward, um, and become proactive and grieve and make sure that you don't silence yourself, that you give back when you're ready, of course, but you go to meetings, you're not alone. Okay. All right, Joanne. And then Rosie, your device is not connected. Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
How are, oops. Bye, Joanne. She fell off. Rosie, why don't you go back down, and then when you come back up, make sure it should prompt you to make sure your mic is connected and your camera. But you don't have to show yourself. You can just click it and it will be the avatar. Meetings are important. Yes. And did you hear Chris Sullivan speak? Like he said the same thing. Meetings are so important. His life is revolved around those meetings because those where his friendships are and where his connections are. Hi,
Am I
Joanne.
back?
You're back.
Okay.
How are you?
Okay. Well, I don't know. It's you know,
Go ahead. We can hear you.
well, okay. Well, hi, Pink. Yeah.
Hi.
I was with you earlier when you were live and we were watching the speakers at the auditorium, and then I went to Mama Ames' chat.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And so it was I don't know, there's just been a lot being said tonight, and
Go ahead, Joanne. Rosie. Yeah, hi, Rosie. Joanne's speaking. So just hold on one second,
Okay, I
honey.
can't hear you, so
make it so I can just talk.
No, we can hear you, Joanne. You're fine.
please continue, Joanne.
Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead, Joanne. I didn't see Mama Ames live. I came in toward the very end.
And we were talking about substance use.
Mm,
We were talking
go-
about substance abuse.
yeah,
Okay, and so like in my family, uh, yeah, abuse, and like that I came from a family of 6 children, Catholic family,
wow. Yeah.
and that at different times everybody ended up showing up like in an AA meeting, right? And that there were dual addictions, which now I guess you want to call it substance abuse,
It's
SAD.
called dual diagnosis. Dual diagnosis. Yeah, mental health along with substance use disorder. Yeah.
And it's like,
I think she's buffering a little bit, but
and
I see
so
Melmo's fire.
it's like, right. And it's like my family tree. You don't pick your parents, you don't pick whether you're poor,
Mhm.
And, you know, there's just bad DNA in my family. And so in coping with like the symptoms of the mental illness, it's like if you have 4 drinks, it takes the edge off and you feel a little bit.
Right.
I'm hearing myself and it's confusing me. I don't know what to do.
Okay, do you have your YouTube on mute? Because if you're hearing it, we don't hear the echo, but if you do, you might need to mute your YouTube and just stay on the StreamYard side. Tracy, yes, they even mentioned that tonight, that a broken heart, when you lose a child, it can be patched up. Never will be, and that's okay.
Okay, well, it says like leave chat settings cam mic. You're in the show, everyone can see and hear you. I just
Right, but do you
wanted
have
to,
YouTube
you
open?
know,
You can try going out and coming back. But make sure that you don't have YouTube open. Just close out YouTube and go to my well, once you come up,
I don't know. I have my cell phone on at the top. It says StreamYard.com.
yeah. Oh, Pretty in Pink, thank you so much.
The
And any donations today are going to Learn to Cope, which is a support group in New England. And they were there this evening, and they're very dear to me. They helped me so much with helping me to cope with my son's struggle. So thank you so much. Okay, Rosie, hi.
Anything.
Hi, Rosie. Nice to have you up.
My pleasure, because I am in full support, even though I am an intractable pain patient of over 50 years. My heart
Hmm.
pours because the illicit fentanyl is not even an opioid, it's a poison.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I
Because I
agree.
can't hear anything.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I'd like anyone in chat to ask me any questions. I have followed this situation since it began. I know thousands of people in the pain community. Yes, we've lost several from either taking their own lives and/or natural causes, because the pain can cause heart attacks and strokes, and many have passed from either or. I have to
Yes, and
take life-saving meds, and no, I do not abuse them, because correct abuse does not equal abuse. However, I understand completely about the disease of addiction.
thank you. And just to let chat know, um, fentanyl, even without fentanyl, people can overdose accidentally. You know, if they take other meds with an opioid. So it's also not just a fentanyl issue, although fentanyl is pretty much in a lot of these illicit drugs, but also if you're taking prescription drugs that are prescribed to you by your doctor, you have to be very, very careful with mixing drugs together. And if you're not sure, reach out to your provider. And also, everyone on an opioid should have Narcan available in their home, even if you do not, because you're definitely dependent when you're on chronic pain meds. And it's not to say if you have Narcan, you're struggling with addiction, okay? It's just important to keep that.
Would you like me to
Keep that
tell
in the
the
house.
story from the beginning, Pink?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. In 2016, a little man that worked at
Let me just
Brandeis,
interrupt for 1 minute.
I'm
Let me
sorry, I
just
can't
interrupt for
hear.
1 minute. Oh, okay. I just wanna, like, I don't know how many people are gonna come up, but I just wanna give, like, a time limit.
Let me know and I'll get off. It all started for us pain patients in 2016 when a alleged addiction psychiatrist started and wanted everyone to be off of their pain medication. He's never treated one pain patient in his life. And he joined forces with a woman named Judy Rumler. She's very wealthy. And her son was in his 40s and he had back pain for 6 years. And he quickly progressed from OxyContin to street heroin and died of an overdose. So she deliberately wants to punish pain patients. And they formed an organization called PROP, Physicians Responsible for Opioid Prescribing. And the CDC made guidelines that was supposed to only be for GPs, general practitioners, to be cautious. But they took it so far that almost every pain doctor in the country stopped prescribing because many, and some very renowned pain specialists were being invaded by the FBI. They came in, some of them would act as pain patients, and they raided
Wow.
their offices, arrested them. They've put many in jail. Pain patients
Wow.
were quickly reduced or immediately stripped from all their medications. There's over 100 million of us. I'm in the 30 million, excuse me, 30 million people category that cannot live without medication. The pain is that intractable. And I have 7 different diseases. I'm in agony right now. I never tell anybody when I'm in pain, but I'm usually in excruciating
Sorry.
pain. But anyway, we've had several people self-harm and succeed, and several also dying from the heart attacks or strokes. I had a small stroke and didn't know it quite a few years ago when they probably had yanked me. I now have to pay out of pocket. No doctor will see me except this practice that I have to travel 500 miles twice a year total, and I don't
Oh
go
my,
out. I live in a hospital bed for 25 years. It's outrageous. And we have all the data
so
now to prove that less than 1% of all pain patients do get addicted. It's actually 0.06 of 1%, just over one half a percent. But that's been proved. The prescriptions have reduced by 40% since the 90s, or I don't know how much, but the overdose rate has risen by 40%. Last year, there was over 100,000 overdose deaths, the most in 1 year. Everyone ignores our wonderful advocates and professional researchers that have proven the data. And I could go on, and I won't because of the time. But I can't tell you how many of my brothers and sisters are suffering, and we have people in our family that also suffer. In fact, I'm worried about Zelda right now because I haven't seen her for a few days, and she asked me to post a link.
Zelda, can
Has
you hear
anybody
me?
seen Zelda?
Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you.
Zelda is fine. I talk to her
Okay.
every day. Yeah, she's
Well, tell her
fine.
I was worried.
She's
She
well.
hasn't seen my comment or pressed the link yet. So I have been extremely worried about her. Please tell her.
I
I just
will.
want to
I
say
will.
that, go ahead.
I will. I literally speak to her every day,
Good.
and she's doing
Okay.
well. Okay.
I'm
Yeah, but
glad to
I
hear
will
that.
tell her. Yeah.
But I do know all the stats and all of the info. I have followed this for 6 years since it began. I have been badly affected because I can afford now over $200 a month. I get my medications, but not what I should be getting. I make do with what I get, and they took away my sleep meds because even though they say it's bad to mix it, it is bad to mix it. But I am almost 66 years old, and when I did get the combination of opioids and benzodiazepines, I've never had a problem. I have 3 boxes of Narcan in my bathroom, happy to say, never even have come close. But I can't get sleep meds, and I'm forced to use medical marijuana, which I stopped using in my 40s, and now I'm forced to. I don't sleep but every 26 to 34 or more hours, and I have horrible nightmares, and I did almost die a year ago last spring because I lost so much weight from not being able to eat because of the pain, and I was told that I may have Lewy body dementia, which is what Robin Williams actually had. I had all the symptoms. It's the most horrendous disease ever. Is there any questions? Otherwise, I just wanted to give people facts
Anyone have
for
any
our family. I
questions?
don't mean people.
And if anybody has Narcan in their home, please check the expiration dates periodically because it does expire. So what you
My
do is
doctor's prescribed it every year.
get a Sharpie and circle the expiration date and keep the expiration date on the box the right side up so you see it. It's
Keep track.
important.
Yes, my doctors and my previous doctors all prescribe it. It's mandatory, and I
Yeah.
do have it. I've just never come close to needing it. And I am past the age of 60, 65, which they consider the danger age. And my previous doctor, who did accept Medicare, dropped me for no good reason. And now I have to have a lot of hardship in both
I think
financial and physical
with,
ways
with the drug
to
reform that a lot of doctors that were prescribing it because now they're being held liable for overdose deaths and they're terrified. Not all, that's one reason they don't want to prescribe. They don't want to be liable for an overdose death because they could end up not only being sued but being put in jail, in prison.
And please
So
know that the fentanyl does, the illicit fentanyl, I wish people would say illicit, because I'm going to be quite honest. I use pharmaceutical fentanyl. It is what saves my life.
right,
The illicit fentanyl is poison. Every time they change a chemical in it, it gets stronger and stronger. And that's why it can
right.
take less than 3 grains of salt. And it is a poison. I don't even consider it an opioid because it's plain poison, but it is what's doing all the damage, and it is now counterfeited in every street drug, no matter what the label is on it, because they make it in press machines and then they sell it straight. And it comes from Mexico, and El Chapo started it because it's a lot cheaper and you don't have to wait for the poppy paste with growing poppy plants. That's why the whole story
Right,
started.
and it's also being put on the streets if you're buying, marijuana off the
I'm just
streets.
hearing that, and that's outrageous because it wasn't
Yeah.
initially. It was
No.
debunked. But now I'm hearing from everyone it's in the marijuana. And yes, you can smoke it.
Yep.
Therefore, you can't trust street marijuana either.
Right, the only t you have to go to um, a
Dispensary.
dispensary. Yes.
Yeah, I use medical dispensary. It was recently approved for recreational. I use delivery service only because I can't go out. I don't go out at all. I haven't seen sunlight in 25 years, basically. That's
Uh,
my life. I've been cabin fevered, but I've accepted my life, and there's always someone else worse. If
well,
there's no
thank you so
questions, I
much.
will gladly
Thank
let
you
the
so
next person.
Thank you, and prayers for you and that you're comfortable, and thank you for sharing, a lot of
Anytime.
good information. Yeah, thank you
I'm
so
very
much.
familiar with Marblehead. My ex-husband lived there.
No,
We seem to have a lot in common.
I was in Marlboro, but
Oh, I thought you said Marblehead. Okay, never mind.
no,
Thank you,
Marlboro,
everyone,
but
for listening.
Marblehead, I know
If you
Marblehead
ever have
too,
any
yeah.
questions or ever need a shoulder to lean on, I'm here for you. Take good care.
Thank you.
I'll go back down on panel now.
Alright,
Down on the chat. Thank you very
thank
much,
you.
everyone. I love you all. And my
Love you
heart breaks
too.
for everyone that has experienced a loss. And please pray for my pain community as well. Thank you very much.
We will. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hi
I got to try to figure this
hi
out.
take your time, yeah. Hi, Jenny, how are you?
Hi, Pink. How you going? I'm well, thanks. But how are you today?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're
Hey,
not in a
Pink,
tunnel, are you?
oh my God, I was talking to myself for half an hour, I think, honestly. No,
Oh
I'm
my
not.
goodness.
Not that long, but you know. Hey, Pink, I just wanted to acknowledge today also families that might be going through the scourge of alcohol, um, alcohol dependency or abuse. And alcohol is so readily available, we often don't see it in the same light because it's legal as the problems that people have with family members using illicit drugs or lost to illicit drugs. But
Yes.
alcohol
So true.
is
Yeah.
the most dangerous of all the substances that can be used or abused or used, you know, not
Yes,
according
and
to
like you said,
prescription.
so readily available, yes.
Yes, and we changed in Australia. I'm not sure what you call your alcohol and drug workers in the States, but we changed from drug and alcohol many years ago to alcohol and other drugs. So we're AOD workers if we work in that field, or they're the people we reach out to, because alcohol is a poison, like the fentanyl that you've got on the streets now. It doesn't
Yes.
cross tolerate with any part of our body. So every time we're drinking, it's fighting and banging against the vital organs, trying to fit in somewhere in our bodies. So it's doing damage all the time. And once it becomes a habit, or a daily ritual, it's extremely dangerous, it's mind altering, and families go through the same thing, or if not worse, because it's often hidden and or not supported in the same way as, or they don't feel they can get the same support, but they can. It is a very dangerous substance. And in fact, it's very dangerous to come cold turkey. So often
Very you have to be in
the
the hospital, yes.
that's right, you need to be in hospital or at the very least have an outreach program, a nurse coming to the
Yes.
home, an in-home treatment system. And that support that you talk about, like Al-Anon or um, different services, is absolutely vital to the family. And they also have the same sudden and unexpected deaths. And not only that, if their family members survive, they often have brain damage or liver damage or other medical issues now to deal with. And so I just wanted to acknowledge those people and make sure they understand that we're thinking of them today also. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's a major struggle, and there are a lot of young people that at a very early age are
Mhm.
addicted to alcohol. In fact,
Yes,
it's a very difficult one to treat, and they also can end up homeless or, you know, overlooked by society and judged. And in fact, a lot of the homeless population do rely on alcohol when they can't get their substance of choice. So we find that one way when assessing somebody, a person wanting to use the services, is to ask what their drug of choice is, because very often they'll be polyusing because of lack of availability. So
right.
the drug
Yeah.
of choice could be, just to say a common one, heroin, but they may be drinking a litre of alcohol a day also. So there's it's so complex. So if someone's wants to withdraw from heroin in the home, we sort of need to make sure if they've been using alcohol as a prop, and how much, and they may very well not see it as a problem for them. So just asking what what people's substance of choice is makes it easier for them to say, oh well, you know, heroin. Okay, what do you do when you can't get heroin? And I just
Right.
get a cask up at the local shop or whatever. So it is it's a scourge, the same as all other drugs. The only problem is with nicotine and alcohol, they're both legal. And that can definitely take away our belief in or our understanding in how dangerous it is.
Yes, and when you mentioned, the younger people, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, we thought of cirrhosis of the liver and people dying from that due to
Mm,
alcohol were people in their 70s and 80s. But what we're finding now is it's now taking the lives of young adults starting in their
yes.
30s, cirrhosis
Oh,
from
very much so.
alcohol.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
and I personally taken care of patients in their 30s who have died from cirrhosis of the liver. It's
Yes.
just, it's phenomenal.
Yep.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to fathom why alcohol is even legal, and it's hard to fathom why nicotine's legal. And I know we don't have to take it, but people have, unfortunately, propensities towards addiction. And like you said, it's a disease. And we all do have, but we don't all have the triggers that release that. And
Right.
when someone's in a lot of pain, different hormones react in the body and start to change. Or, it's the same as we all have the propensity to have cancer, but how we look after our physical health will largely dictate that. And our
Exactly.
emotional health leads to, um, you know, reaching for substances to numb the pain.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
I can honestly say,
You articulate this so very well. You truly, you're a joy to have up.
oh, thank you, Pink. I just hope I express it correctly, because I don't,
Absolutely.
I don't
Absolutely.
hide that I'm dyslexic. So when I'm talking, I do get stage fright, and we all do, because we
Yes.
talk in
So do I,
pictures.
believe it or not. So do I.
Yeah.
So do
Yeah.
I.
So, and we lose words. If we can't spell a word, if we can't picture a word, we can't spell it or say it, basically. So we've always got pictures flipping through our brain trying to get things out. So I hope I do. And also, this is going to be very triggering and emotional for a lot of people listening today. And just remember that we're not deliberate. There's no way that we want to say anything that would be triggering or hurtful when discussing situations. We're here for everybody. And I think, Pink, that you monitor that really well. Like, you keep your chats very, very respectful and very loving. And I just hope everybody feels that, because that's the intent for sure, isn't it?
Thank you. I have great subs. What can I say?
Yeah.
From the time I started my channel, um, I really have not had any large issues with, fighting, or
Because
although, I made it clear at the very beginning, this is what I want for my channel, but this is what I want for you all, not just for my channel. I want
that's
us to
right.
have a connection,
Yes.
um, and it's worked, so far. So
Yep. Oh, Pink, can I mention one thing too?
yeah,
The other
sure.
day when we were talking about narcane, as we call it in Australia, narcane with the Aussie accent, um,
Yeah,
I was saying, after you administer, be careful and run. What I'll qualify that, because you have to call your mark. If somebody is just out of a nightclub wearing a fancy little outfit with their Louis bag, and you see them overdosing, there's very likely they would be very grateful that you've narked them. If we're talking about, you come across somebody who's entrenched in homelessness and street dwelling, sleeping rough, there is
mhm,
a strong chance that you could be attacked, because the most important thing to them was finding the money, then finding the resources and scoring
right,
the substance. And that's part of training for our outreach workers. And I do know outreach workers that have been seriously injured. And the best
absolutely.
thing yes, the best thing, so it's about reading your environment, and just remembering that if you're unsure of the environment, just administer and move away as quickly as you can while you're administering practically.
Excellent,
But
excellent point. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
so
a
it's
lot
not,
of these people, when they come out of their overdose, they're very well upset with you that you
yes,
even knocked them. And we see that
that's
in the
right.
ERs, in the emergency departments, that they get up and they're upset that, you took their
Hmm.
quote unquote high away from them, and they try to leave the emergency department so they can go back out
Yes,
and get their
again,
drugs
yep.
again. Yeah,
So
yeah,
just a little hint, if you're in a situation where you think this is a person that's clearly been sleeping rough for a while or entrenched in the homeless system, which, isn't too hard to identify. I mean, it's as opposite as if it's someone coming out of a club. Usually you would know the difference. So what you can do is call out first for somebody else to assist, because the homeless culture is a real community. And they, very many times there will be people, in fact, a lot of the homeless people save their friends regularly, do CPR and get whatever's necessary happening. But I had an instance years ago when I was doing outreach where I had a homeless guy come up and say, "No, sweetheart, she's okay, mate, leave her." And I'm saying, "I can't." And
mhm.
you can rub on their chest. You need to look it up, but you can do the knuckles up and down in the middle of the chest on the rib cage,
Right, the
which
sternum
they would
rub,
like.
yes,
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 they would likely do, but also, speak very loudly and clearly saying, "If you don't respond, I'm calling an ambulance." And sometimes you'll
yes,
get a response, just enough to snap them out of it, and then work it out with the person that's probably stepped in to assist. And once other homeless people see that someone who's higher up, maybe, or well entrenched in the community is helping you, they're going to just keep walking by. It's every day for them. And
mm,
they just leave. So I have had a situation where it took a little bit longer than I would have liked, but the young woman, oh, she was actually quite an older woman, I think, did respond and did sit up. And once she was okay, I could watch at a distance that she was okay and that he'd walked away with her. So you can call out in those sort of situations if somebody can help or if anybody knows this person, because it's very likely they will. So, there's a few ways that it can be
yeah,
managed before you narc, but only if you feel at risk. If you don't feel at risk, just go right ahead. And, with the young people we saw on the screen today, what stood out to me was their presentation, and a lot of them had a lot of life in their eyes and a lot of joy in their eyes. There was a couple that I saw, I thought, they've got a lot of pain in their eyes, but those, it can happen to anybody, and they don't want
right,
to
it does not
perish.
discriminate, yes, yeah,
That's right. And that's sort of what I was saying yesterday with the people that are often unfortunately referred to as junkies are a very small percent of the drug using population. But now with fentanyl, that's changing. Prior to fentanyl, you could safely recreationally use drugs if I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not recommending it because I don't see the need to take mind altering drugs basically, or alcohol. But they they've had a bad dose now, and it's not as safe to say, oh, you can safely use these proportioned amounts in a controlled circumstance. It's getting a bit harder to actually say, but people are doing it and they're overdosing, and those people
mm,
just narc them straight away. Yeah,
right,
it's like
right.
I'm losing my
Mm,
train of thought around what I wanted to say because it's such
you're
an
doing
emotive
you're doing
topic.
fine, you're doing excellent, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Pink. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so
And
much. Thank you. So
yeah,
the
you know,
information you gave is so valuable. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and much love to all the subs and mods, and keep on coming back, because you've got a lot of support here and a lot of real love, so just keep doing that, and good on you. It's hard work. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
love to you, Pink, in your journey too.
Thank you. And thank you, because it sounds like you're very active and wherever you are in helping others, and thank you for that.
You're
And your
welcome. Thank
inspiration.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye all.
All right. Bye. Hi, knitting artisan. Welcome.
Hi. It's so nice
Hi.
to talk to you, Pink, and your lovely chat. You have such beautiful people that you have collected in your community. Everyone is very kind and welcoming, and so are you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Well, someone had suggested that I come on panel. My story may not be anywhere near as dramatic, and I have a number of factors that come together that have affected my little family. It would almost be the fantastical stuff movies are made of, but here we are by God's grace. But my daughter,
Mhm.
she overdosed badly several years ago. There was a period of time where
I'm
when she
sorry.
lived with my ex, but she does great. She does really good now, and she's working hard to straighten herself out. She, bless her heart, she's
You're here.
20 and had very difficult circumstances, and I'm sure you've seen some of that, some of the comments I've made in chat, because it relates to other things, which is probably what caused the overdose. But her experience was, or what she did, was she took a cocktail of 4 different medications, and I'm trying to remember them all. I know it was over 150 pills, Benadryl, Prozac,
Oh my gosh.
hydrocodone, and another one. So she was in a
I'm so
coma for three
sorry.
days.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
my story is not nearly as tragic as other people's, because I'm still very blessed to have my daughter. And um, when she was living with my ex, it didn't go well, um, which was the reason, which is, I'm sure was another reason that piled on, and why she chose to do that. DCS actually got involved, and I don't know why. It took them 9 investigations before they finally looked for me. I was only 2 counties over, but they put her back with me, and since she's been back home with me almost 3
Thank God.
years now, and there's not. It feels like I'm just taking a continuous, long, peaceful exhale now that she's home. Um,
Right.
but
Yes,
she,
I completely understand. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, so she does
Because
really well.
she's safe. She's safe. She's relatively safe with you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and she has borderline, which maybe you saw in the comments in the chat maybe last night, but she has
Mm-hmm.
borderline. It's related to when she was quite young and I adopted her. Uh, she she did
Oh.
fairly well with me. I tried for 8 years to have children and wasn't able, and the way God brought her into our family is, it's an amazing story. But and I'll try to give a nutshell version, because I don't want to monopolize the time here. But it was a
Can I just
wonderful.
ask how old was she when you adopted her?
She was 18 months old when I met her, and she first started coming to visit with us.
Okay.
And it was another year before the adoption was final.
Okay.
And it was an open adoption, but I limited access to her birth parents.
Mm-hmm.
And but she opened that up when she went to go live with my ex. I always use the word, all forms of the word adoption, adopted, so that she would be able to ask the questions she was able to understand as she grew up. You know, it wasn't
Right,
something I wanted to drop on her when she's like, I don't know, 16 or 20 years old and go, oh, by the way, you're adopted. So
right,
I wanted her
exactly.
to
Yeah, I
ask.
was told very young. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And, but it was still quite hard. She had some extremely um, neglectful and abusive circumstances that she lived in. So when she
Mm-hmm.
first came to me, she did okay, aside from she had no stranger danger. She would go to anybody but she did end up bonding to me. But then I found out my son was coming, and then when he was born, he had Down syndrome, and you know,
Oh, God
I'm
bless him.
guessing, you know, with you being a nurse, I don't know if you work pediatrics, but he was born with the heart defect. I mean, it was a
Mm-hmm.
big hole in the middle of
Very
his heart.
common, Down syndrome. Yes.
Yeah, so he had that. He ended up having very severe pulmonary hypertension and GERD. I mean, it was a number of things. You know, he had
Right.
a feeding button. So it was round the clock care. He had upwards of 14 surgeries. A lot of them were heart catheterizations. But anyway, when I was going to the hospital all the time, it was very hard on my daughter. And to her, it read like abandonment all over again. So that's when
Yes.
she really fell apart. And so when I was home, I was taking my son to doctor's appointments, but also working in counseling appointments for her. And she was only 3, and she was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, fast forward to now, that has now become borderline personality. But I'm so proud of her. You know, she still struggles. It's not perfect, but she works so hard. She gets up and she works a job, and
Yeah.
she's
Good for
such
her.
a kind, yeah, she's a very kind, empathetic person. And now she's working at a nursing home, and the residents
Good for her.
absolutely adore her. Yeah,
And
I
you
mean,
know
every
what? It
so
sounds
often,
like she's got a wonderful mother. You know, it's
oh,
important. You can
oh,
tell. You can
you're
tell.
gonna make
Yeah.
me cry because you're a wonderful mother. You're a wonderful mother. So that's high praise coming from you. Um, uh, Not perfect, but you know, but she has
None of
health
us
care. I mean,
are.
mental
Yeah.
health care. She has a case manager that comes to our home and sees her every week, and she does counseling, and she takes her medicine, and seems like about every 6 months the wheels come off, and you know, it feels like life is like a really fast treadmill. Sometimes that catches up with her, and um, and she'll
But I,
have a
but I,
hard time.
knitting, I also think too, even with our children who don't even have a diagnosis like BPD. When you were describing, you know, about every 6 months the wheels come off, I think of my own
Mm-hmm.
daughter who doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
any, you know, diagnosis of BPD, and a lot of it too, you know, can be typical as well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know I raised 2 boys and then a girl, and I know with my daughter, it was a completely different entity. I'm like, "Where did she come from?" Because,
Yeah.
every few months, forget 6 months, every couple of months, her wheels would fall
Mm-hmm.
off. But I think too, a
Yeah.
lot of it too is just that natural progression of growing up and trying to get
Mm-hmm.
into adulthood. Because my daughter would
Yes.
often say, "I don't like being an adult, mom. You know, this adulting stuff is just I don't
It's
like it."
hard. There's so
Yes.
many. It seems like there's just. It's not as easy as when we were children. Um, the times are
Oh,
just so much
absolutely not.
harder for some reason,
Yes.
and there's. I don't know. There's so many more responsibilities to have to stay on top of, and gracious, I know sometimes I'd like to get off the merry-go-round too,
Same
but
here, same here.
yeah, yeah. So that's a little bit of my story, and what's related to the addiction part of it. So thankfully, I mean, my daughter's doing great. No addictions.
Thank
Um,
God.
so so I can't. Some of the precious ladies here in chat have experienced such loss, and I'm so grateful. I almost lost my daughter. I
I
almost
know.
lost my son after his second open heart surgery. He
Oh my
flatlined
goodness.
after he had the AVSD repair, and I knew lots of, I was at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital a lot. That's where we were because I'm
Mhm.
in the vicinity of Nashville, Tennessee. Um, so I knew lots of women that did not get to go home with their babies. So maybe I don't feel worthy to be in this chat because I'm still so blessed to have my children, and I can't
Yeah,
imagine what it would be like to get up and not have one of them. I mean, came close to being a
I
reality
can't
twice, but
either. I can't either. And like they said at that event I was at tonight, a lot of times we don't know what to say, because unless you actually have lost a child, and
mhm,
but what you can do is be there for them,
yes,
because they do want to share their story. They do grieve. They don't want to stop grieving, which when she said that, that was interesting that, you know,
mhm,
she said that, I'm going to grieve a lifetime, and that's okay. Let me grieve,
yes,
and it's
yes.
okay. Yeah. So,
Just the
um,
space to experience it, a soft place to fall. And I do have an acquaintance friend here that lost her daughter 5 years ago, and I saw she was grieving today because her daughter would be 23 years old today. Was her birthday. It wasn't
oh,
addiction. Someone else that was distractedly driving crossed the line and hit her daughter head on. And I
oh
mean, it's
my
just so hard to
gosh.
watch her grieve. But life is hard
Yeah,
for everybody. Everybody's dealing with something. Just be kind to everybody.
that's right.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
right. We can all do better. All of us,
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank
Black Eagle
you.
was
No,
really
thank
sweet
you.
to want to hear my story. And much love to everybody. You're all beautiful and precious.
Thank you. And so are you. Thank you so much for coming up and sharing your story.
Thank
And God
you.
bless you and your daughter. I'm glad she's doing better. And how's your son
Yes.
doing?
Medically speaking, he's great. He has Down syndrome and autism. He's 16, and he cracks me up because he is a ladies' man, and
Wow.
he likes the ladies with long hair. So I have pictures. He's got a favorite waitress, and he cracks me up.
Good for
And
him. Oh,
he's equally loving, and sometimes he can be a little stinker pudge.
yeah,
Sometimes he's, the sensory processing. He might, have to sit down and work through some sensory overload, but incredibly sweet and loving. And thankfully, the two of my kiddos, my daughter is so sweet with Levi. I mean, he's 16, but he's still a bit like a toddler. Um, so anyway, he's I wouldn't say high functioning, but I mean he was flat of his back in a hospital bed quite a bit. He was 5 years
wow,
old before his feet ever touched grass. But medically speaking, he's
wow.
doing great. I'm really proud of how our
That's
little
so
family
good.
is doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, thank you so much, and God bless you and your family. And again, thank
God
you so much
God
for sharing.
Thank you. God bless all of you. And my heart goes out to all of you that are suffering loss. My heart breaks. I wish I could take the pain away.
I know, me too. Me too.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye, knitting artisan. Hi, J May.
Hello, my lovely. Boy, what a day, huh? I
Yeah,
I
what a
drove.
day.
There wasn't an overdose day event in my city, so I drove to the beach with my dog, and it was a really rich and rewarding and tough day. And it was, nice at the beach, and my dog enjoyed it, but she was very unnerved because she's never seen me cry before. So today was a big cry day,
Oh,
so she's a little out of sorts. She's very clingy
what
tonight.
was that the first event you've ever been to? Have you been to them before?
I've been to them before. They used to have them here in my town, but this year has been pretty tough on our city, and downtown isn't a popular place to go. So I had to drive, 2 hours to go to the beach. So, but it was fine,
Yeah,
and
because
and it was good.
yeah,
But
they
I
had
did.
some. I wanted to go to the coast. They had one on the coast called it was at sunset, and I can imagine that must have been beautiful. But it was a little bit of a ride for me. But I enjoyed the one that I went to. That's the one I usually go to each year.
Yeah, I did. It was worth it, and it was good to take my pup to the beach for the first time. But
Oh,
it was a long
wow.
day, and it was a sad
Yeah,
day, a sad day. But
yeah.
I can be sarcastic and sassy, but deep down, I am a complete softie. I crumble. My mom told me I was an empath because as a child, I sat and watched Lassie at the end up on the rock, and I'd cry worried
Yes.
and sit there and tell him, "Go home, Lassie, go home. You're not safe." And my mom said, "Oh
I
no,
think
you're
we
going to be
all did
one.
that. I
You're
avoided
going to
that
care
show
too
because
much."
it would make me cry.
Oh
Mm.
gosh. Well, and I am a real softie. And when other people tell me about their troubles, I feel it. I actually feel it because my mom raised me to put yourself in someone else's place and get out of your own head, and you'll have better relationships. And she was right. Anyway,
Yep, absolutely.
I lost my I lost my nephew to steroid abuse in 2012, and I
Oh, I'm
lost
so sorry.
my sister in December
Yes.
2019, a year before my mom, and I lost my best friend since second grade to alcoholism, and my sister died of oxy dependency and alcoholism. And there's just a couple points that I want to share that made my journey through all that hurt for other people, for people I loved,
Yeah,
and
so
that
I'm sitting here in listening to you. You've lost multiple people that you loved, and how do you move forward?
well, I was very blessed to have the most saintly mother. She was goodness to the bone. She was I called her Jesus with a uterus, and I didn't mean to be sacrilegious. She was very devout, but she loved it. She just wouldn't let me put it on a sweatshirt. So anyway, my mom was my rock, and I grew up adoring her, and I thought I will never be as good a person as my mother. So I idolized her, and she became my best friend. And I was lucky enough to have the privilege of caring for her in her last 4 years as her living caregiver. And so
Mhm.
I have absolutely no regrets. But it was if you are dealing with a sister or a family member or a loved one, a friend, your child, someone that has these horrific challenges of dependency, find what works for you. What worked for me was saying to myself, I have to hold it together and do everything I can because my mom is old and failing, and she needs me to be her action. And so I took myself emotionally out of the situation with my sister as much as I could and put myself in
Mhm.
service mode
Get it.
and education
Right.
mode because I'm too tender. I would not have been as good a help if I had been crying all over her all the time. And that I noticed I have three other siblings, and they all judged her and scorned her, and that certainly didn't help. And so when you have
Right.
this scourge
Yeah.
in your family, it runs through your family and destroys relationships like a tsunami. It's just devastation. And so I just focused on my mom because it's horrible to watch your favorite person lose a child. But that got me through. The way I avoided a addiction or dependency was I never wanted to disappoint my parents. I couldn't give them, they gave me so much, and I couldn't give them
Were you
that.
the baby in your family by any chance?
I was the fourth daughter in 7 years, and then 7 years after me, they had a oops baby, a boy, who turned out to be completely satanic. I mean, he's just a horrible human being.
Oh.
Anyway, no, he moved in with my mother, stole all her money, put his name on her house. Yeah, he's the
Oh, no.
Antichrist in my book, and he beat me up and put me in
Yeah.
the hospital. So, anyway,
Jeez.
back to the important stuff. When you're in the middle of all these crises, and then the addiction in your family causes so many other problems in relationships, find one thing that you can focus on to kind of buffer you from your own personal willingness to just crumble. Do it on behalf of, like I did it on behalf of my mother. I became her action, you know. And
Right. Right.
I saw that judgment didn't work. And I loved my sister dearly, but love isn't as strong as addiction. And you have to forgive yourself for that. They aren't failing or dying because you didn't love them enough. And you have to have good self thoughts and remind yourself that you're up against the worst thing ever. And if you're lucky enough to win, God bless it. Hallelujah. And if you lose, you got to put it in perspective and try to do everything you can, get educated. But what these things taught me was when I was raising my children, I was quite a radical mom. I started telling my kids about drugs and drug addiction and alcohol when they were 5.
So did I. But it
And I
didn't work.
talked to them about brain chemistry and that God gave you this organ called the brain. And luckily I could see that my kids were going to be really smart. They took after my dad. And I thought, I'm going to make them focus on taking care of their brain. And so I taught them that addiction, and I'm a science geek. So I'm not surprised they all went into medicine. But I taught them from an early age and talked to them constantly, openly, honestly about how
But
pills
Jamie,
and drugs and booze
if
hit
it's
you.
a genetic component, don't you think you can talk and talk and talk? But if there's a genetic component to it,
Well, and that's the other thing. Other people, their body chemistry, their brain chemistry is predisposed to
right?
addiction much easier than other people. So you really can't. That's why the judgment doesn't do any good. I don't think any person wakes up at 22 and says, "Oh, I think I want to be a drug addict and live that horror."
No, of
Nobody
course not.
intends to do it. But some
Of course,
people, they get in with the wrong crowd. Some people, it's their body. Some
yeah, but
people, they can take Oxycontin for 1 week and become addicted. Other people never get addicted. So it's
right. But what I'm
very
saying is,
personal.
Jamie, if we talk to our kids, and I certainly did, as well as you did, right, when they were very young.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I have 3 children. 2 of them are never, became, um, addicted, even though they were on, maybe prescribed a narcotic, maybe for the wisdom teeth or whatever, or they would, when they were legal age, they would have a glass of wine. But I have one son who was prescribed from a doctor an opioid,
Hmm.
and that was that. That
Well,
was
because
that.
he's predisposed to addiction to that. But
Right,
the
to what
important
yeah,
thing, the thing that worried me, what made me talk to my kids wasn't so much prescribed drugs. It was all the changes I saw in drugs, the new drugs that were coming out, like meth and all these
yeah.
other ecstasy and things. So I just told them you have to take care of your brain. And that stuff isn't, you're going to ruin your life if you mess up your brain. So don't ever do drugs. And luckily they didn't.
Do you
But
remember the commercial, "This is your brain on drugs," and they drop the egg in the frying pan?
yeah, 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 I showed that to my kids.
Did you?
They laughed
Yeah.
at first. But I did. I was a single mom. So every moment was a teaching moment, and every time we were in the
Right.
car, they were a captive audience for the lesson of the day. You wouldn't believe the nutty stuff I did. I used to put quotes on their mirror every morning of famous people or just sayings I believed in that related to what one of them was going through. So they'd talk about this and they'd look up the guy who said it. And, you know, I was really, I was an overdrive mom because I was so frightened I'd fail them because I was the only parent they had. So, but anyway,
I get it. I
the,
totally get it. Yeah.
the comfort, the comfort you need to find to park your pain and grief and sadness and longing for your loved one that's going through addiction, that can become a burden for you. And what worked for me was saying, I can't feel those things right now. I need to be more purposeful on behalf of my mother to try to help her save her daughter, or at least support and comfort her daughter as much as I can. And that
Right.
helped me. That really did, making it not. And so now I go to this event and I'm a blubbering idiot the whole time because But they won't see me again till next year, or maybe this next year they'll have it in my town again. But my poor dog, oh, Pink, she's never
Oh,
seen me cry. You can hear her. She's in her little crate going, "Mommy, Mommy, are you going to cry again?" No, Anna, I'm not. It's okay. Anyway, that's
oh,
just my 2 cents, and every single person is affected, and so we really do need to be kind to each other and supportive of each other.
yeah,
And if you have a friend who's going through this with their loved one, just ask how that you can help them. Take them out to lunch, go shopping, let them talk about what they're feeling, and just be there,
exactly,
because if you're
exactly.
there for
Yeah,
other people, some drug addicts become dependent because they feel alone. So if you can be there for other people, you don't know the problems you may be solving or the strength you may be handing them. So those are my 2 cents, and I just want to thank you for your support, Pink. You are a goddess in my mind, because your
so
graciousness and your wisdom and your wit is just beyond attractive to me. I
oh,
just think you're fabulous.
you just haven't seen the nasty side of me yet. Give it a while.
Well, but remember me, I have that sarcastic little spicy side myself. My
Yeah.
dad said, you've got to be my daughter. And he taught me that the world will kick your ass. You better get tough. And my mom was Jesus with the uterus. So I'm a blubbering, outward, empathetic, loving sucker for everybody. And the two are both still there. So whatever day it is, that might be what you
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really
Always good to
appreciate
hear
you.
from you. Thank you so much.
Okay. And if anybody needs anybody to talk to, reach out to Pink and she can get in touch with me. And
Yeah.
just a friend on the phone sometimes is all it takes. And I'll be there. If anybody needs me, I'd be there.
Thank you. There you
Okay,
go.
well, you take care. Love you.
Thanks. Love you too. Okay, what I want to show, okay, so these were given out free. So if you're interested in Narcan, before you go to the pharmacy, because you do not need a prescription, reach out, and they always have the expiration date on it. So what you would do is, I don't have a Sharpie with me right now, but this is black, but take even a gold Sharpie, or even get a piece of tape and a piece of paper and write the expiration date, or circle it so you see it, and you want to check the expiration periodically. So this expires March of 2025. Make sure you do not leave it in a vehicle or anywhere where there's extreme temperatures that are very hot and very cold, because it will change the potency. Okay. And there's a number for the company if you need more information. And the outreach programs, they're going to ask you, are you trained? Do you know how to administer it? And a lot of them will actually provide training, and it's 5 to 10 minutes. And you can also go on YouTube, and there's plenty of videos. So Narcan, when it first came out, it came out as a injection, but now it comes out as a nasal spray. So this is what it looks like. Okay. All right, and you get 2 of them in a box. And if you can get a second box, that would be great too. With the fentanyl, it's taking a lot more than just 2 to get someone out of consciousness. But you would also want to call 911 right away. And they will come, and if they need to administer more, you would tell them, I gave my child or my loved one 2 of these, 3, whatever. Okay. I'm going to open one of these. Okay. You just peel them back. Okay. Peel it back. Very easy to open. You don't want to open it before you admit, like, just open it to look at it. You only want to open it when you actually have to use it, okay? This is plastic, okay? There's no cover that you have to take off. You use it just like it is when it comes out, okay? There's a red button underneath, okay? That's, you're going to depress this. So you're going to put it up, the whole thing up one nostril. You're not going to use half of it. It doesn't work that way. Once you press this, you'll hear a click and it sprays, okay? So you want to put this up one nostril, okay? And then immediately, you don't wait and see, just immediately, you would do the same thing with the second one. You would open it up in the corner, just, pull tab. The second one is exactly like the first one, 4 milligrams of Narcan nasal spray, and you'll put it up the other nostril, okay? And then, so it's very easy to administer, but don't go by me right now. If you go and pick this up at a outreach program and they say, well, if you are training, do not consider me training, okay? I'm just briefly showing you, how easy it is to use, because it no longer comes with the needle and having to draw it up, and that was crazy. So, any questions on the Narcan? Would Narcan work if someone OD'd on psychotropics like lithium? No, they would not. Narcan is only for opioids. That's all. It won't hurt. Like I said, if you find someone unresponsive that you don't know and there's no needles around, you have no idea, and you give them Narcan, it will not hurt them, okay? So all this does is reverse the opioid, that attach itself to the receptors of the brain. So when you administer this, it pulls out from those receptors. But it doesn't mean you still, even if they come out of it, you still should have them transferred to the emergency room, because once this wears off, they can go right back into an overdose. There's a place in Massachusetts called Tapestry, and they give out Narcan for free. Such a blessing. Tracy, are you from Mass? There's also the Worcester AIDS Project. If anyone's in the Worcester County of Massachusetts, the Worcester AIDS Project gives them out for free. Also, Learn to Cope, okay, which is a support group for families. There are chapters throughout New England. I'm not sure if they're up in Maine yet, though. They are growing and expanding every single time you go, and they do have every other week now. They have actual live meetings where you go in person, and then the other weeks it's on Zoom. But you can go in and they provide training, and I used to do it before COVID. I would be one of the trainees, and you get them for free. So, but if you're not from Massachusetts or surrounding states, just call an outreach program, call the hospital, ask for social services, ask for a list of resources. Western Mass. Awesome. So Worcester County, you might be closer to Worcester County too. So if you know anyone in that area, just tell them the Worcester AIDS Project and Learn to Cope support group. And I have their website is on the live event video I did. If anyone wants to find out where they're located. So any more questions on the Narcan? CVS hands them out free? Really? Not here, they don't. Black Eagle. Oh, what do you
Hey,
want
darling.
now?
Oh, you know me.
What do you
I'm
want
just,
now?
I'm just slumming it.
How are you, Black
That was,
Eagle?
oh, I'm fine. That was
Mhm.
quite the gathering. Now, is that something that you've been to before, or is that
Yeah,
how
every
how
year.
did you? Okay,
They've only been
wow,
going on, I think International Overdose Awareness Day started about 4 years ago.
huh?
So these are relatively new, yeah. So this is my 4th, well, actually last year I didn't go because on the 31st I went to Marlborough where I was tonight, and there
Yeah,
was nothing there. So they must have had it another night for some reason, and I just didn't check ahead, but
right.
I've missed one in 4 years. Yeah.
Huh. Well, it sort
They're
of
great.
reminds me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to functions like that, like retreats and whatnot for AA, but never seen anything like that, which I'll have to get the information for. I wonder if they do anything like that up here. My sister would really
Ooh, you mean the
benefit.
what I went to tonight?
Yeah, yeah.
It's all around the world. This is the one night all around the world they do this.
Okay.
So I would imagine, J May posted, um, in one of my community posts today,
Yeah,
the website to find out where, depending on where you live in the world, the
right.
closest, event.
See, the thing is with my sister, she's super, super private. I'm not
Well, there
sure
we
that
go.
she would.
Overdoseday.com.
Okay,
Thank you,
okay.
J-May.
Thanks, Jay. Um, but I mean, I know, unfortunately, I know a lot of people that would probably be receptive to something like that. And uh, yeah, it's they say that there's usually 6 degrees of separation. But
Mhm.
in my life, it's 1 degree in 6 different directions.
Oh my god. Write it down, people. Write that one down.
Yeah, the old wise
Tracy's
one
been
here,
to one
Black
in
Eagle.
Boston. Yeah.
So, so
Tracy, I'm so
anyway,
sorry about your daughter. And you know what, Black Eagle? I liked the fact that they focused on stigma because it's different every year. They focused on
okay,
stigma and they focused on people shouldn't go silent, the ones who have lost a loved one. Um, they retreat and go silent. Like Chris
well, I
Sullivan,
mean, I
the
think,
ex-Patriots player was saying, "I
yeah,
retreat to the toilet," like the bathroom, but
right,
like I explained earlier, there are a lot of parents who've lost their child and they won't talk about it or they'll deny it was even an overdose. They'll say things like,
sure,
they were, I don't know, in a horrible accident, a car
sure,
accident or something
sure,
different, or they
yeah,
just, had a blood clot or whatever.
sure.
And it's like you
Mm.
can read their faces almost and say, no, 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 no,
Well, I mean, and I think there's so many
you know.
difference. I mean, one of my dearest best friends, we share the same birthday. Um, we lost Bryce, and then her son Sam overdosed. Well, actually, he had been battling heroin and he couldn't overcome it, and he ended up committing suicide. But so my son Hans Christian was close with both of them. So within in less than 2 years, he lost two of the closest people to him. And yeah, it's I don't know. And you and I have talked a great deal about our shared experience with
Mhm.
our cherubs.
Yep. Yep.
And
We just
yeah,
talked yesterday. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I believe in divine order. I believe that things come up and conversations happen when we need them to. And with my sister, like I said, she's extremely private. But every so often, she'll something will come up and she'll share it, or we'll call, because for myself, like I think of my nephew Bryce all the time, and every once in a while, and I believe me, I don't get into all. I mean, I let people believe what they believe, but I've never really subscribed to people coming from beyond giving me a message.
Mhm.
And my sister is really not like that. She is very
Yeah.
conservative in thought. But there have been a couple of times where things have happened. And, I take a big risk, calling my sister and saying, listen, I know I just want to share something with you. And she'll say to me, Sarah, oh, Black, or whatever the hell my name is. I guess my name is Sarah.
Hi,
She'll say,
Sarah.
hi, you know who. But anyway, she'll say, I'm glad that you told me that. And she'll say, she had an experience. Like Bryce was really into Valhalla, which is a ship. And I remember calling her saying, oh, I just had sort of like this really strong feeling like he wanted me to tell you something. And she said, I just got back from the water, and it's an old Victorian type vessel type thing that comes through once a year. Well, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Well, like the tall ship type thing. And same day. I was like, wow. So
Mm.
anyway, I'm babbling, but
No, you're not. I
no,
always love hearing you. And as far as stigma, like when people use stigmas, like junkie is my, oh, I
sure.
can't stand it when I still hear that. So think of it this way. When you use words like that in describing someone's addiction, and you don't have to say it to the person who's struggling or the loved one whose family member is struggling, just saying in general. But what it does is it interferes with that person wanting to get treatment. Okay. And
I don't know. I
treatment
don't
that
know if
they
I
need.
agree. I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest with you. I really don't, because
If they have like a dual diagnosis, say they're suffering from a mental health disorder,
okay,
okay, it
sure,
can
sure,
certainly impact their functioning. I
sure.
believe it can, because treatment, Sarah Black Eagle, sorry,
It's whatever.
treatment
It's all good.
requires, it consists of a lot of different components, and the addiction stigma is literally, it's a public health issue. Even the
Well, I
stigma,
also know
because
when I share,
it's stopping people from wanting to get help when they know they need
right, but
help, because you got
right,
people, you're a
but
junkie, they feel like they're worthless, they're not worthy of help. It's that
right.
deep.
And I think it's on an individual basis, because I know that when I share my story, I tell them I'm a low bottom alkie, I'm a lush. Um, I can't handle my booze in any way, shape, or
That's a
form.
stigma,
I sort of
alkies,
take the go ahead, or am I echoing?
alkies. No, I'm just talking out when you say alky, that's a stigma.
That's what I mean. And it does,
Yeah.
like, what do you only want me to use the formal word alcoholic? I mean, I'm an alkie. I'm a drunk. Um,
But would you tell that to
it
somebody else? Would you tell that to someone else?
Well, I mean, it all depends in the context of the conversation. You know, I'm taking the power out of it by claiming it myself. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you call me. I can't drink in safety. So, you know, a lot let me tell you also, this is like triggering for me to think about, we're always looking for excuses to pick up a drink. We're looking for somebody to offend us. We're looking for somebody to, you know, be politically incorrect, to give us an excuse to pick up so that we don't have to take responsibility for
Mm, I
ourselves.
see. Yeah.
I
Good
mean,
point. Yeah.
I'm only thinking about this on the
But
cuff right
it's
now.
not healthy. I mean, yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that I
Yeah,
sit
because if
around and
someone picks up and relapses, they could say, "Well, yeah, you called me a junkie. I mean, that really hurt, so I used," and I get it.
right.
Yeah. But
No, but I mean, I also respect what you're saying, and you know, believe me, when when I get up and share my story, you know, if there was a if I had to put $1 in the jar for every time I swore, you know, I'd have to take a loan out by the end of the meeting. You know, I swear like a lobsterman, but I don't know. It I just, you know, I hope that you're going to
y
leave that up on your page
yeah,
because
absolutely. I did get
I
a copyright claim. I did get a copyright claim for the songs, but it's not a strike, so it's
already,
up. Oh,
wow,
they
they are
do it
fast.
they did it within, like, 10 minutes after I ended my live. Do do
How do
do
they do that? Like,
does
is it
anyone
auto?
they hear the music, the algorithms pick it up.
Okay, so it's not like a person sitting in a room watching.
Never,
Oh,
never.
jeez. See, I'm a
No,
dinosaur. That's how
you're
my
thinking
brain
of
works.
AOL. You're thinking of AOL. Remember AOL?
Okay.
The
Uh,
monitors that would come in
yes,
and
I
say,
remember.
"Watch your words. Don't say that. Don't do that." Stigma, for anyone who doesn't know, the word stigma comes from Latin and Greek, and it's originally meant a burn or a tattoo or other mark inflicted on another person to signify their disgrace. So that's just a little fun fact. Today, it means labeling, stereotyping, and discrimination. So, one example is using disparaging or judgmental terms to refer to addiction, people with substance use disorder,
Right.
or
Gotcha.
treatments for the disease.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. You know what I found
You know me, I
compelling
throw in my
tonight?
fun facts,
That's all
right?
right.
There's going to be a quiz at the end of this live stream, everybody.
Right.
Bet you didn't pop quiz.
Right. But I'll tell you what tonight what really stuck out for me was
Yes.
that it goes to show you. I mean, we're talking about a pro football player. That was
Hmm.
powerful. And I
Yes.
can only assume that he impacts people in a very strong way because, you
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
yeah, and I think it's important that he does show people that it can have obviously. I mean, look at the NFL for God's sakes, and you know, we could that's another whole show on
Hmm.
Oprah. But he just humanized the disease, the fact that we're all human.
Exactly.
There's doctors, lawyers. It doesn't discriminate judges.
Nope.
It's not because in our mind, like as a bartender for most of my, you know, however many years of my younger days, um, my thought was alcoholics were on a bench in a trench coat. Um, and
Right.
very quick and the guys that were waiting when I'd get to the bar to open up for the day shift, I'd get there at 10 o'clock and there'd be guys waiting for me to open up. But I still didn't even see it as an alcoholic. I was a bartender and it's summertime. So I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. It's interesting how we change our views.
And we tend to think of like I would look at a pro football player and be like, wow, they have it all, right?
Right.
They're in
Sure.
sports. You don't think of sports
Right.
of people having an addiction because we always say, get your kids involved in sports. It will keep them out of trouble, right?
Right. Right.
So to hear this from a professional football player, and he was
Right.
raised, he said he was raised in a good Irish Catholic, strict upbringing,
Mhm.
never got into trouble, became a
Right.
professional football player, made millions,
Right.
won Super Bowls, and it's like, and look,
Right.
you know,
Right. Well, look at the
to
steroid
us.
abuse. Yeah. Well, look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think also, as with more awareness, God only knows what went on years and years ago as far as addiction, steroid use, uh, you know, uh, athletes that needed to be thin, gymnasts who, ruined their physical genetic makeup because they were anorexic, that type of thing. So, and
Yeah.
lived off of, and doctors back then, I'm just grateful. I really truly am grateful that I was, I mean, I did cocaine in excess, but I stopped, I had the ability to stop when I started, having children,
Mhm.
but the
But also, isn't
alcohol,
cocaine not physically addicting in the sense that you don't go through
it's addicting in the
withdrawals?
moment. Right, it's
Right.
addicting in the moment. You just want more, 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 more.
'Cause I hear a lot of
And
people say, "Oh, yeah, I'm an addict. I was addicted to cocaine." And then it's like, "Okay, but you didn't go through," and not to minimize it, but the struggle with opioids is that most people just need to maintain, they wanna stay healthy. In
right,
other words,
right,
not go into withdrawal, getting what they
right.
used to refer to as dope sick. So,
It's
I always
interesting.
thought cocaine
I
is
never,
easier to get off of because you don't go through those withdrawals, but it's
right, right.
psychological, most definitely,
Well, I
but
mean,
half
when
the
you're in the
battle is
middle
already
of it,
won
when
with
you're up,
cocaine, you don't withdraw. Yeah.
well, when you're in the middle, when you're partying and you're doing lines, you just want more, 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 more. And you go, 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 go until you don't have any. But you don't wake up the next day. And we used to do benders for 2 or 3 days at a time down in little old Cape Cod. Oh my God. That was like you
Seagull
know,
Beach by any chance?
I couldn't tell you to be honest with you.
That's okay. P-Town?
Definitely.
P-Town?
Oh,
All the way at the
absolutely
tip?
P-Town. Absolutely
Robinson
P-Town. A few other places.
or
My
Toro, yeah.
one of my I dated a guy from Northeastern and his roommate's parents were fucking loaded. And they had
Yeah.
a place down in Hyannisport. And oh my God, it was a lifestyle that I had
Mhm.
never seen before. But anyway, but I'm glad, and I highly recommend to anybody that didn't see Pink's live earlier. It's a phenomenal evening. I'm gonna actually even possibly send that to a couple of people. Can I share it from?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Anyone who wants to share it.
yeah,
If you're a creator and you've got a community tab, share it if you wanna
yeah,
send it, and I was gonna thank you, Black Eagle, 'cause I wanted to mention that, and I probably would have forgotten to otherwise. If you have friends, you wanna share it with them if they're on Facebook or just email it to them. Um, absolutely share it.
well, I think what happens a lot of time, and like I said, where I've been in so many different realms of addiction, my own, my daughter, I've been on both sides of it. But oftentimes people who are the spouse or the family member or that don't have a drug or an alcohol addiction, they don't have the opportunity to see what it's like, or maybe have never heard an alcoholic or an addict share their story. So
Right.
I think there's a few people that are buzzing around my head that I want to send it to. And again, oh, and boy, didn't they just seem like the nicest couple? The football player
Oh
and
my
his wife.
God. Are they happy? They're truly, you can just tell.
I want to go to their house for a
They
barbecue.
compliment each other. They compliment
Yeah,
each other.
yeah. Well,
You
and
want to what? Come to my house? What was that?
not your house, their house for a barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, I'll eat you right out of house and home there, darling. But what was I going to say? Oh, what I was going to say was, that's what you call brain cells getting fried there. But I do recall that I was thinking, oh shit, I forgot again. Oh. Okay, I'm just kidding. That they must have been through a lot together as a couple. Between the two of them. Can you
Well,
imagine what?
I think I got a little bit confused because he was talking about his wife then girlfriend moving in, having 2 kids. Was he talking about her because he said she was battling with her addiction? But she said at the when she spoke, she didn't have any addiction issues or problems. So I don't know
I
if he was
don't.
referring
Yeah.
to his ex-wife. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That
I'm not
he
sure.
would drive drunk with the 2 kids, and I mean, if you all wanna,
Right.
I can play it right now. I can put it on a little bit faster mode, if you guys wanna
Yeah.
hear him. Yeah?
I think, I really think it will make an impact on people out there.
Yeah. Alright, hold on. Let me get to it. I wonder if this is gonna echo, though. I get confused if I go on my own YouTube. Let's try it. I gotta share. I gotta share screen. Hold on.
Do 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 do. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And his wife, and I remember several years ago this happening. Her daughter was at a party after homecoming, was underage drinking, wandered off, and they couldn't find this girl for 3 days. They found her face down in like a small, it wasn't even like a pond, it was just like marsh kind of wetland. I don't know. It was
She was
horrible.
alive though, right?
No,
Oh my God. See, I guess I didn't see that.
no, her daughter, they didn't find her for 3 days. They had search teams out. And I remember this. And they found her dead, face down in water. And the autopsy, she drowned.
Fuck. Jesus.
Yeah.
That was the wife of the football player?
Yes.
Oh my
But
God.
but what she was saying was, it was meant, her daughter, the one that passed away, introduced Chris, because Chris was in a program.
Okay.
And I don't know the connection, how the daughter connected to him,
Okay.
but the daughter introduced Chris to her mom before she passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
And well, here's, oh, you playing it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Just want to make sure it doesn't echo.
It's kind of good. I actually can't see anybody. So, you know, it's
Okay.
kind of funny when usually me and my wife
Yeah.
speak. And listen, I do a lot of public speaking.
I'm going to go to the bathroom.
I've never gotten used to it.
Okay.
I'm always uncomfortable. I'm always pacing around, but this is real important to me and my wife and everyone here. But usually when we do it, she's greeting everyone at the door and hugging everyone. And I literally hide. And it's funny because I'm either backstage.
All right, just for anyone that just came in, this is Chris Sullivan. He was a former New England Patriots football player. Okay.
And he's really cute.
He is. Go Pats. Okay.
Or my hiding spot of choice is on a toilet, which is kind of weird. I find the boys' room. I sit down because no one's going to come in. No one's going to bother me. No one's going to. But let me start first by saying my name's Chris, alcoholic addict, and hello. And I spoke a few years ago at I think she had one in a church, and the pictures really hit me hard. Yeah. You know, you can't figure out why, you know, some people get this and some don't. And for me, I'm extremely grateful and humbled to be up here. But, you know, kind of in my story, the right people came into my life at exactly the right time, exactly when I needed them, you know. And it's funny because we talk about the stigma, and you know, the sad part for me is I had the stigma until I struggled with addiction. You know, I was kind of sheltered. I grew up in Irish Catholic, real strict family. You know, went to church and always kind of did the right thing, but like I didn't have it in my family, you know, and it was never talked about. Maybe I had alcoholism, but you know, it took me a long time and a lot of struggling to finally admit, you know, that I'm an alcoholic addict. And it's funny because that's the first thing I tell people about me. You know, I don't tell them anything else about me. I don't care who you are, where we're at. I don't tell you I played in the NFL. I don't tell you anything I did except that I'm an alcoholic and addict. You know, and I'm proud of it. You know, but for me, you know, kind of growing up, I always said, no way, not me. You know, because I had that image in my head. Like I didn't picture me right now. I didn't picture doctors, lawyers, kids. You know, I kind of had the end image in my head. You know, and I'm so grateful that, you know, I was fortunate enough to find recovery. And, you know, I had a lot of things that kind of went my way in life, you know, and the crazy part is the first time I've ever felt the same hope in my life, I saw in the halls of AA and NA, you know, and I've met the most amazing people along the way, you know. But for me, February 3rd, 2002, probably should have been one of the best days of my life. You know, I was a member of the New England Patriots. We just won the Super Bowl, and from the outside, I looked like I had everything going for me, and I was on top of the world. You know, but what people didn't know at the time, and I didn't know at the time, I was an addict and alcoholic. You know, I can still remember it like it was yesterday, and you'll see me fidgeting. This is my sobriety chip. I have it with me at all times. And it's funny because I actually have my Super Bowl ring on. It's on backwards. I've never worn it. I'll put it on just for purposes of carrying it. Listen, I'm proud of it. It means a lot to me, you know, but I think everyone here can attest, like, this means a lot more to me than this Super Bowl ring. And thank you. And I give it away. I give away the ring tomorrow, honest to God. And you know what's funny? Not funny, but, you know, if you ask my mother passed away on my sobriety day 2 years ago, and that was my mother. Of course, she had to kind of under my day a little bit. You know, but it's funny because my family was all about kind of accomplishments, and you got to do this and get here and do this. You know, and this is the thing my mother was most proud of. So especially the people in here that are in recovery, obviously be proud of it, you know, because for me, thank you. You know, it's funny for me, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. You know, I got the Super Bowl ring by dealing with a lot of physical pain, you know, and I had to put myself through a lot. But to get the sobriety chip and keep it, I had to deal with the emotional pain that I had dealt with my whole life. You know, majority of my life, insecure, low self-esteem, low self-worth. Never comfortable around people. It's kind of a repeating story. You know, I looked like I had everything. I was a quiet kid. I kept to myself. I didn't talk back. I didn't get in trouble. I did the right thing, blah, blah, blah. You know, but on the inside, I was hurt. You know, and September 2001, I was in a bar in Rhode Island thinking nothing of it. You know, I just had wrist surgeries, and I started buying pain pills in September 2001. I didn't know what I was signing up for. The team doctor used to give me pain pills after the game, doctors, lawyers, and I didn't realize that decision was going to change my life forever. You know, and that's kind of how my journey began. I got back on the New England Patriots. I won a Super Bowl. You know, and 6 months after taking my first pill, I gave up football. I gave up what I had done for 23 years, and it was a pretty easy decision. You know, I can remember when I took that first pill. I had surgeries before this. I remember I took that first pill, and it gave me a feeling that I dreamt about my whole life. You know, it still scares me to this day. I was comfortable in my own skin. I wanted to be around people. I felt like someone was giving me a warm hug. And I didn't realize, like, I was going to chase that for the next 8 years. You know, I didn't realize I need to fix what was going on in here before I'll ever get better. You know, in the next 8 years, as you can imagine, I was fortunate to make it through. We talk about the stigma. When I started my sobriety journey, like, obviously I went to meetings for everybody else, not myself, because I was different. You know, I never in my life have thought I was better than anyone else, but I was unique. I wasn't like one of them. Like, I can stop whenever I want, you know, and quite honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, you know, but, you know, December 14th, the day before I get sober, 2008, and it's crazy because you never know when someone's going to get this. It was my most hopeless day. I had left the sober house. I had lost everything, the house, the family, millions of dollars, and I was in an apartment in North Attleboro, and at this time I was trying to drink myself to death, you know, and it's crazy because the day before I got sober was as hopeless as I've ever felt in my life, you know, and, you know, it's kind of tough to say this in front of people that have lost people, but the one thing I did good, the only good decision I made during that time is I called this guy, Steve, that was friends with my wife, and I hated this guy. Steve was tattooed up. I knew him from meetings. I was roommates with his brother. He had like 17 years at the time. He'd yell and scream in meetings. He had tattoos. He was confident. He was everything I wasn't. And I actually don't remember calling him. It was kind of my introduction to recovery because this guy was coming by my apartment every 3 or 4 hours a day, like just to make sure I was okay. And I couldn't stand this guy. But he came by December 14th, and because there was a car there. And you know, when he walked in my apartment, my mother and father were there. You know, and my mother was a very tough, strict woman, and tough love, and she was standing over my bed bawling, begging God to take my life. And obviously my mother didn't want that. But my mother didn't want to watch her son suffer anymore, you know. And December 15th is my sobriety date. And the thing I had struggled with my whole life, right, the emotional, mental, all that, I had a total breakdown. And thank God that day happened. I was in that apartment. I couldn't afford anything. The heat was freezing, but I cried for like 4 hours. And I don't know, I tried to get in the church next door. I have a very, very strong faith now. I always had a faith. The church was locked, so I came back, and I remember sitting on my couch crying, just begging God, you know, please, you know, I don't want to deal with this mental obsession. I don't want to hurt anybody anymore. It's like I'm the last person, you know what I mean? None of the people we know want to hurt anyone. And I got the gift of desperation that day, you know. It's crazy to think the day before, like I had pretty much given up, you know, and well, what did happen is that guy that I called that I hated walked in about 15 minutes later. And I remember saying, Steve, I need help. And it's funny, I had called him before this. I don't remember what I said, but this is the first time in my life I ever asked another human being for help with anything. And I guess it was kind of the, I don't know, football mentality, the way I was raised, don't show weakness. I was so scared my whole life. Even when I was 290 pounds and physically strong and had all these things, I was so afraid of someone finding out how broken I was, you know, and I was ashamed of it. And it's amazing, that first time I ever asked anybody for help in my life, and it changed my world, you know, and I started this journey in recovery, you know, and I had tried before. I went to 15 rehabs and you name it, you know, I went to thousands of meetings, but I sat back and I didn't talk to people because I'm not better than them, but I'm not like them. And I started to go to meetings, and I started to get to know people in recovery, and I got accountable, and it's literally changed my life. Like, honestly, there's no other place I'd rather be than here tonight. Like, this is super important to me. You know, everything in my life that I can't imagine living without came out of my worst years. You know, my 8 years of addiction and brought everything in my life that, like, if I think of, I lose my mind. You know, in 2002, I met someone and she had 2 kids and she moved in my house right when I gave up football and she struggled with addiction. I struggled with addiction and those kids lived the addiction. And I put those kids through stuff that no kid should be put through. You know, that's the stuff, like, I never forget that. You know, those kids saw the police ambulance. I drove drunk with them. I try to never forget that stuff. You know, but those 2 kids stayed in my life.
Amen. Amen.
Like, I thank God I met their mother. You know, and like, yeah. And it's crazy because, like, those 2 kids' forgiveness and not giving up.
Thank you for the donation. It's going to go to
absolutely changed me. You know, and
thank you so much.
You know, the last I'm coming up on 14 years, and
wow.
And I don't know, it's just been amazing. Like, this world of recovery, like, has absolutely changed me. The only people I really hang out with, the people in recovery, they're the most giving heart, except when they're struggling. They will do anything for anyone at any time. You know, I can tell you I wasn't getting phone calls from old teammates and people that knew I was struggling. It was the people in recovery that absolutely loved me before I even began to like myself. You know, and they showed me a different way of life. And you know, it's crazy. I met a gentleman in back with 50 years, and it just completely blew my mind. You know what I mean? A long time ago. I don't know. I'm going to wrap up in a second, but I'm just extremely grateful to be here. People in recovery, I love you guys. I love everyone here. I don't say that much.
I love you too.
Really, if ever. My wife knows that. Like, I have a problem with expressing myself still. So, like, if my wife looked pretty tonight, I tell her 3 days from now. I think it. The words just don't come out. But this is a great turnout. I love Kathy Leonard. She's my second Kathy. It's funny. I went to a school a couple months ago, and my wife's like my blanket, like a couple years ago. And if I don't have her with me, I kind of lose it. We're completely different. But Kathy Leonard came, and I think it was probably my best speech. I was really comfortable. So maybe it's the name Kathy, but I don't know. I hope you guys have a good night. And I'm extremely grateful to be here. My name is Chris. I'm alcoholic addict.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Stop screen. Wasn't that great?
Yeah, I definitely am going to pass that on to a couple of people anyway. But I think, again, how humble is the guy? And wow, very powerful when he was talking about that he values the chip in his pocket more than the Super Bowl ring.
Right.
I mean, that's the dream of most, every football player in mankind dreams of being in the Super Bowl.
And like Kindness for All was saying too, like, to get up and share your story is not only humbling, but it takes courage, especially, having these people go through, the stigmas and just feeling they're not worthy enough and shamed, to stand up and open your life to such utter honesty is unbelievable.
Well, I'm not, I mean,
anyone
and you
who
can
does
tell
that.
the difference. Well, but here's the other side of that. I know people that get up and share all the time, and they're in and out all the time. They give these incredible, powerful messages, and I'm definitely not talking about him. But what I'm saying is that anybody could relapse at any time.
Right.
And that's when they say that it's cunning, baffling, and powerful, it is. Like, you could be up there one minute, and then tomorrow, who knows he is just, and the other thing they say is the further away from a drink or a drug that you are, the closer to a drink or a drug you are, if that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, that
That,
makes yes, that makes sense 100%.
yeah, yeah. And I know for
Because a lot of
myself,
people think the longer someone is in recovery,
mhm,
um, that for some reason they're safer, that, the
right,
longer you remain sober and clean, you got
right.
this, you're good for the rest of your life. No,
Well, and what
no.
happens to a lot of
It
people once
it's
they get
it's
the
it's a journey for the rest of your life. It's one day at a time for the rest of your life.
right, right. Well, and there are people that can get clean and sober, move on with their life. They don't have to do meetings. They sort of, and I'm sure many of them have a good quality of life, but there are also what we call dry drunks or dry addicts that put
Oh, yes,
down a
absolutely.
substance. They don't do any spiritual or internal work. But you know, uh, again, I mean, I can't. Myself, uh, addicts and alcoholics, we are such bullshitters, and um, and that's why when you have that like come to Jesus moment, when you are down and you are flat out, uh, again, it's by the grace of God that you have another opportunity to uh to 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 get clean or sober, because so often so often people have absolutely no intention of ending their life, but either they take the wrong hit of heroin, or they step off a curb the wrong way when they're hammered and end up bleeding out because they give themselves go into a coma, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We think we're in control, and we're so out of control. And
When you mentioned dry drunk, when I came to that epiphany, sort of call it, like when I first came to YouTube and then just started like seeing people like creators just acting like not normal to me, and I couldn't understand it. And I started thinking that even children who grew up with active alcoholic parents, or even parents in well, I don't want to say recovery, who stopped drinking, okay?
mhm, mhm,
They still have their parents would still have that dry drunk behavior, and these children, that's what they grew up around. So that was their normal. So
right.
dry drunk, it's
It's
like
almost like you almost, I know, I'm not going to say who it is, but there's a dry drunk in my world, and I almost want him to drink. It's like, why don't you go ahead and drink, and
exactly. Yeah.
take the, you know, it'll cut the tension for everybody,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, I get
But
you. Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's almost like,
Yep.
Jesus, if you're going to be this miserable, you know, fuck it, just pick up, do what you need to
Mhm.
do. Um, or people that, and the other thing, I'll tell you, one time I met this woman, and she said, I guess she had like 20 something years of recovery, and I was like, wow. I'm like, geez. I'm like, so what were you like before you got, sober? And she
Yeah.
said, I only drank one time. She said, and
Wow.
she said, I knew I was an alcoholic, and I went to
Wow.
AA the next day. Yeah. I was like, shut up. Like, no
Wow.
way.
That's intense.
Because like, I know for myself, I think back to when I was in high school. I drank in junior high school, but I remember in high school going, this is not normal. I remember thinking, this is not normal. Even though everybody, in high school, you go to parties, everybody gets drunk, but there was even something there was something inside of me that said that I was even different from that, that I wasn't just your normal high school partier, you know. It was an obsession. It was an obsession. And
Yeah.
when everybody else
You
was
knew.
laid out, going, oh my God, I'm going, let's go get some more. Like, come on, guys, let's go. Like, let's go. you know. But anyway,
Yeah, I went to high school with a girl that was just
didn't have an
constantly
off button.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
And this was in high school. In high
Mm,
school.
mm. I tell you, one time I had bartended, got out of work. Me and my man, we got a bottle of Johnny Walker, and it was in the wintertime. And we had some white powdery stuff, and we decided to head to North Conway to watch the sunrise at the top of a mountain. And the first thing that happened that night, we came across a truck that had flipped over, and the guy was hammered.
My God.
He left the truck there. We gave him a ride, and we kept going. Well, anyway, so we ended up pulling over in like some, like those little roads, like off the main road. You just pull
Right.
over to, do a line
Yeah.
or whatever, a line. And we ended up getting stuck. And I mean, stuck in the snow so that, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. So there's nobody out. And the only thing that saved us was that finally somebody was like going to work at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I went and got a ride because my sister just happened to live up the road. We were probably going to go there for breakfast or something. I don't know. And the guy that I was with, my boyfriend, he ended up, because of the drugs and being out in the cold, and who knows what happened, but his Adam's apple or tonsils or whatever blew up to the size of like a big jalapeno pepper, where they had to like do a tracheotomy so that
Yeah.
he could breathe.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I got a million of those stories. I won't bore them with you tonight, but I'm just saying that's just normal people don't have those experiences. Normal
Right.
drinkers,
Exactly.
normal drinkers don't. But
Mm.
how come you never ended up as an alcoholic? Did it skip a generation from you to your addiction
You
from
know what?
you?
I think with it came my first husband that I divorced, um,
Right.
he toured, we divorced, but not for he was dabbling in the white powdery substance. Because
Right.
back
Right. I
then you gotta
remember that.
remember that it was like a social drug, and I know that's hard to believe, but it really was. You go into a nightclub and there'd be people doing it on the
Right.
tables, making a line, offering you a line. Um,
Well, you must have been from the
I
big city because up here in Maine, we didn't do it on the table at the bar.
Yeah, no, it was just and nobody really abused it, and but my ex-husband started to, like, he would just get a rock and be like, you know and I recognized it as a problem right away and try to get him help into treatment,
But
but
were
at
you
that time,
married?
like,
Were
the
you
local
married at the
hospital was
time?
like, "No, he's fine." I'm like, "What?" So I find a psychiatrist who ends up putting him on Klonopin, and he becomes addicted to that. But that wasn't the reason why I left him. It was a completely different
Okay, so
reason
you
why
were
I
m-
left him.
you okay, but you were married at that time.
Yes, yes, and
Okay,
I chose to leave him, and not specifically because of that, because I did try to get him into
right,
treatment and help, but something else
right.
came about that had nothing to do with drugs. Um,
Okay.
and it's a long story. But anyway, I truly think that it's from his side of the family
Right.
that, or they got it from their own father being
Right.
predisposed genetically. But my other son is fine. So
Right.
who's to say? And my daughter's fine. But my daughter, I remarried, and my second husband passed away suddenly, but there was never any issue with him or his family. So
Right. Right.
I just
Well,
think,
I mean, I hate to be that mom, but and I mean, my older two, they definitely partied in high school and beyond, but my younger three, at that point, after I had them, even though I had relapsed, and I'd always let them know that, listen, this is your gene, this is in your genealogy.
mhm,
Excuse me. And it's interesting, Aubrey has battled with heroin, and my twins, where they I remember my son Shay worked at a golf course, and he was like, I don't know, 14, 15, and he'd be like, "Oh, mom, they left alcohol in the cart and I drank it." And I was like, "All right, that makes sense, I
yeah,
but I also would have conversations with them that just remember, both your dad and I are alcoholics, that it is in your genes.
yeah, yeah.
And
Jamie was talking about that too. Yeah.
but I don't, like, right now, they just got back from Canada. They got out of the Marines. They're getting ready to go to college, so they're up there partying. I don't want to be, well, I don't want to be that mom that's like, don't, because of course they party their ass off. Like, just be safe. I'm not going to, my days of lecture,
Right.
I mean, it's not my place, but I feel that it is my responsibility to not hide. Like, I haven't told them yet that I have another OUI,
Mhm.
you know.
I think it's
Be-
important as a parent, as long as you stay in touch with your children, you know, communicate with them once in a
well,
while, I mean,
yeah.
that's
Well, this is
the
my
best
only
thing you can
OUI.
do
Yeah.
as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, take that back. It's my first one. Should have had 1,000 prior to this. But, you know, that shame of, and my sponsor's going to talk me right into it, because she knows it's like, well, I don't want to put that on them. I don't want to be like, oh, hey, by the way, your mom's an idiot. She got an OUI. That's why I can't, wasn't able to drive to the airport to pick you up. Um, I'm just going to wait for the right time. If it's the right
Yeah.
time, I don't know. But again, another saying is, you're as sick as your secrets.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's if I start, excuse me, hiding the fact that, number one, I'm human. Number two, I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and I fucked up.
Yeah.
But at least I'm not saying it through a jailhouse prison letter.
Right. Right. Exactly. Oh, geez. Yeah. Black Eagle would probably end up calling me collect if that was the case, right? You have
Right?
received a
Absolutely.
collect call from the Department of Corrections. Yeah. Press 0 to accept or just hang up. Yeah. I'd be like, "What
Oh my
the
God.
Black Eagle? Damn it."
Up until this moment exactly, I would have only called my sister's like that quintessential person that, when you are in the absolute dredges of, you know,
Right.
fuckery, and there's that one person that you can call that's just not going to make you feel any worse. It would have been my sister, but I'm going to add you to that list.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're in the
I
club.
suppose you're gonna expect me to add to your commissary fund as well.
Well, I was going to say, I guess they say there are honey buns there, but I
Yes,
don't do sugar, but I don't do sugar anymore, but hey, man, I've never had one of those suckers.
Oh my God, Black Eagle.
Well, I'll
Listen
tell
to
you
that
what I'm gonna
story.
do. I'm gonna do, well, I'm gonna start my book when I'm in there, but yeah, I'll
Save
give
me
you
a
the
chapter, right? Save me a
I was gonna
chapter.
say, right?
Black
We
Eagle
can
and
do
I
a
have met in real
Q&A,
life, everyone. So yeah.
and Pink is
And we
lovely.
hope to get together soon, like this month or next month. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, either be, I'm thinking after I go into the clink. I gotta go to court in September.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're not going
All
to the
right.
clink, huh?
Jesus, good God. All right, listen, much love and light to everyone. And hey, darling, thank you so much for sharing that tonight. That
You're
I'm gonna
welcome.
pass
Thank you,
pass.
everybody, for coming up, for sharing your stories, for
Yeah,
your comments, for being here. Thank you for your donations. Any donations that I received for 831 are going directly to Learn to Cope, to help
throw
support
some money on that.
families
Throw some money on that thing for me, okay? In
on your
my
book.
honor, Pink.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
No,
I
I meant
guess
for the
so.
no, I meant for the donation thing for the
I'll send you a
good
buck.
night.
I'll send you
All
a
right.
dollar.
No, I meant to the other thing that you were getting donations for.
The
Silly.
other thing.
That you were just talking about for the recovery. You said if anybody sends you a donation, you're going to give it to.
Learn to Cope.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I said, go ahead, donate to them on my behalf for me.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I'm gonna put.
Katz's
I'm gonna put. Especially, yeah. I'll put everybody's name
P&B.
on it. From Pink
Yeah,
Lady Luck and subscribers.
yeah.
Absolutely.
PB and J. Good
All
night.
right,
Good night. Good
everybody. I
night.
gotta
Much
get
love.
to
Much
sleep.
love.
Yeah,
Okay. Good night.
everybody. We'll talk again soon. And don't
All
forget, if you
right.
need help, there's resources in the description of the live stream I did. Or reach out, ask for help. Okay, and we'll be there. Okay. Good night, everyone.